Hey everybody, it's Angela. Welcome back to my channel. I felt led to do this for a while, but I keep procrastinating because it's the holidays. Today is Christmas, Christmas night, and because I'm wide awake as usual, I thought I'll go ahead and do this video since everybody is out for the night or down for the night. So, the thing of it is, we hear talk of stalker cards and cards that are obsessed with us, but I've had a couple of different experiences, and this led me to getting a couple of different tarot decks, with me being obsessed with the card. Now, as you know, if you watched my previous videos, my tarot journey started probably around April of this year. Last June is when I was really became aware of what was happening, this awakening I was going through. And then, like, April, just pretty much the same way as I started out the awakening, I woke up one morning and needed to buy a tarot deck. I literally woke up out of bed saying, I need to buy a tarot deck. Couldn't figure out why. At the time, to me, tarot was much like a Ouija board, where it was demonic, and couldn't figure out why I all of a sudden had this overwhelming need, this thirst, this hunger to buy a tarot deck. I had to have a tarot deck. And so I went with my sister-in-law to Barnes & Noble a couple weeks later, because at that point it got to the point of obsessive. And if you hear that noise, that's my heat kicking on. I apologize. I get to the point where I had to have a tarot deck. So we went to Barnes & Noble, and there's a few different options there. And at this point, I knew nothing about tarot. I didn't know that there was a Smith, the Rider-Waite-Smith was like dominant in this world. I didn't know there were different kinds of decks. I didn't know that there was such a thing as an oracle deck. I had no idea. So I just looked at the few that said tarot on them and picked the Rider-Waite-Smith, the Radiant Rider-Waite-Smith, because it said it was a workbook, that it was more like for beginners. So I immediately was, oh, I'm getting this book, or this one. It comes with a book. It comes with the deck. Essentially everything I need, I guess. So I bought the tarot deck. The problem is, once I got it home and I started looking through the cards, I was like, why did I buy this? I have no clue what I'm doing. It's supposed to be able to help me intuitively. It's not. I was not even close to being, what would you call it? What sort I'm looking for? Connected with the deck. So, at that point, I became obsessed with looking at different videos and on YouTube. Still am. On different tarot box unboxings, and I kept hearing, because I started following a couple of different tarot groups for beginners on Facebook, and essentially nothing was jumping out at me. Well, a few weeks later, I'm on my favorite site, Wish, and there was the Earth Magic Oracle deck. Again, I didn't see the word Oracle on there. I don't know why. It showed the box and then a few cards spread out, which is the Dragonfly card. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And I apologize because I just realized I didn't pull any of the cards I want to talk about today. Sorry. This won't be long if I'm having to pull all the cards like this. That's weird. That was upside down. It shouldn't be. Okay. So there's a couple of cards spread out to show display, and then there was this card, the Dragonfly Emergence, and it sold me on the deck. Had to have this deck because of this card. So then I went on, of course, YouTube and watched an unboxing, and I was hooked. I loved all the cards. I'm like, I'm totally buying this. So I bought it off Wish. It was like $2.97 or something. Super cheap. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. Said there was a book with it. There wasn't. I got the cards, and they were a little tiny deck, which I showed in a previous video. I was like, what the hell is this? Because it was not what I expected. And so I wound up buying this one on Amazon. It came with the book. The other one did come with a PDF, but it's not the same as having the book in your hand, especially when you are a reader of books. And so I had to have this. When I got it in the mail, even the small deck, you could feel the energy radiating from the cards. Even now, holding it like this, I can feel the energy. It's just this happy, earthy, I'm supposed to have this deck kind of deal. And so that got me, and actually bought this one, and then I saw the walkthrough of the Greek mythology reading cards. Beautiful artwork on these cards. I'm going to show these to you a little bit here. There's this one. There's just a few I'm going to show here. They're amazing cards. Beautiful. Trojan Horse. But there's several walkthroughs of this deck as well on Facebook. I mean, YouTube. Pegasus. Zeus. And I like these because each one has a keyword. This one is supremacy with Zeus. Makes total sense, right? Poseidon and avarice. The Horai and time. Love that card because my favorite color is green. As in grass. Mother Earth. Totally why I picked Earth Magic cards. I'm trying to show you this one that got me hooked on this deck as well. And there's not that many cards in here, so I don't know why I'm not finding it. Of course, it's going to be the last card. It's Typhoeus and Fear. And that card is freaking amazing. Amazing card. And so I wound up buying the two decks together. They were like 15 bucks a piece on Amazon. They both come with a cute little guidebook. Just enough information. And I like this one because it gives you information on the different Greek goddesses in the Oracle deck. But I got these two decks and I was reading with them, and I was actually practicing with a friend, with my sister-in-law, because the tarot wasn't really doing anything for me. I was like, maybe I'm just more of an Oracle reader. And it was just like I was getting frustrated because I wanted to learn to read the tarot. The deck I had wasn't working for me. And I feel bad saying that because every single video I've watched, every single thing I've seen on Facebook, everybody refers back to the Smith Rider-Waite, or the Rider-Waite Smith um, tarot decks, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it, because none of them were that I was seeing were connecting with me at all. It was just like, there's something wrong with me. But I really did connect with this one more than the Greek mythology one. I think that's because I've always been, I love nature. I love being around Mother Earth and all of that. And it connected with me on a deep level. So then, I was watching for weeks and weeks and weeks, watching these different videos of unboxings on YouTube, trying to find that one tarot deck that spoke to me like the Earth Magic Oracle deck had. Couldn't find it. I wound up finding a new metaphysical shop that opened up down the street for me. They started doing group meditations every Wednesday for free, so I started going to that. And I hadn't meditated in quite a while. I've had a lot of great meditative experiences, but there was some stuff that went down around my birthday last September, and I just really kind of fell out of it, stopped meditating, stopped doing anything. And then April, it was kind of this renewed vigor with the whole need to get a tarot deck, questioning why I needed to get a tarot deck when I didn't truly understand it, didn't care to understand it, could have cared less. And then when I got the Earth Magic, it was like something shifted. Like, I had this one idea of the tarot and oracle decks, that they were bad, that they were not spiritual. But once I got that Earth Magic deck, it was like my perspective had changed, and I was having all these great experiences with the cards I was pulling, and I'm like, how could they feel wonderful? How could they be bad? So I've had to change a lot of my perspective on a lot of that stuff, and let go of some of my beliefs that I believed prior to this deck. And I thought maybe that is what was stopping me from reading the Rider-Waite tarot, and so I decided to try to read it again. Like, there was a couple months there where I didn't touch the deck at all. And then all of a sudden, I was like, renewed vigor again, where I needed to learn this deck. I'm a Virgo, so I'm all about learning everything and needing everything in its place and obsessing over the need to learn this tarot deck. It just wasn't resonating with me. And what kills me is the only card in the deck, and I actually made my own box for that deck because it came in like a plain card box kind of deal, and it just like fell apart almost 3 or 4 times after I pulled the deck out. So I made my own little box. Got the 8 of Swords on the front, and I'll tell you why in a second, which is why I'm doing this video. But the cards look like this on the back for the Radiant Rider-Waite. And so I painted the box blue. Found it at like a dollar store for holiday boxes, gift boxes. And then I painted it blue and then added gold stars to match, stickers to match the backs. And then I edged it in yellow to bring out the yellow and the stars more, which that was my first deck I edged, and I did a pretty good job, I think. Didn't even know people did that, but that is the Radiant Rider-Waite. Now going back to why I'm doing this video. For some reason, despite all the cards in this deck, this is the card that I resonated with. Um, and I didn't really care for this particular card, even though I deeply resonated with this card for some reason. And it really kind of upset me at first because I'm like, well, she's blindfolded, she's being bound, she's surrounded by these swords, like she's stuck, she has no place to go. Um, and could not figure out why I resonated with this card because I was past the issues with my friendship that ended last year, and I was finally in a good place, and I felt like, why do I resonate with this card? So, and I'm not meditating at this point or anything. It kind of ticked me off because I'm like, that's the only card in the deck that I really understood and got. I felt like she's me. Like, this is a picture of me. Um, I'm stuck. I've been blind. I've been trapped before, without any resources or no one to turn to. I've been her before, and so it upset me because that, I mean, to me that's a dark card. Um, and I'm like, of all the cards in the deck, that's the one I resonate with. But I was like, forget this deck. Obviously, I can't work with it. So I decided to go on YouTube, do all these unboxing videos, watch all these unboxing videos, and pick another deck. I was searching for something that resonated with me like the Oracle deck had. And actually wound up on Facebook. One of the groups I was following at the time had posted, we're doing a teaching on the major arcana cards. I'm like, oh, I'm going to join this group. It's going to be amazing because I'm going to get an in-depth look at each card. And she posted the world on there, and it was from the Tarot Illuminati. And I'm like, oh my God, this card is so beautiful. I don't care if I can read the card or not. I want this deck because of that card. So I went, as I always do, on YouTube, found the Illuminati unboxing, and that's this box here. And I just opened it. It's got a magnetic thing there. It actually comes with a book, but my book is sitting here next to me. The backs of these are everything. I mean, my favorite color is green. They're green and gold. They're very elegant looking. When I saw the unboxing, I didn't know that it was like a special unboxing. They were gold trimmed, which is one of the main reasons I wanted the deck. Well, when I got this deck, it was not gold trimmed at all. But I had went to the metaphysical shop, and I had actually seen the Apocalypsis deck, which is the second one to this deck. I actually felt like I resonated with it more because this one is essentially a Rider-Waite clone. And but I was like, well, if I get this one, because there's so much more detail in it, like that, the tower. There's so much more detail in it than there is in the Rider-Waite. Maybe it'll help me understand the Rider-Waite deck. So I wound up getting this one. I went back and forth for weeks and weeks and weeks on this deck. Could not, like, I'm like, should I get this one or the Apocalypsis? I don't know. I couldn't decide. But with the gold trim that I thought I was getting, and of course, the card I'm trying to find to show you. These are all the majors. Hold on. Sorry, I was not prepared for this video. I'm just trying to get through it. Okay. So, again, because I was going back and forth for weeks. When I would do my group meditation, I would talk to the owner of the metaphysical shop. I'm like, oh, you still have my 2 tarot decks I want. because she had both of them. And I'm like, I still can't decide which one I want to get. And finally, I went in there one day and just bought the Illuminati, and this is why. And again, it's the Eight of Swords. And at this point, I'm like, okay, there's something going on because I'm obsessed with this card. No matter what deck it is, I'm obsessed with the Eight of Swords. And this one, of course, is like, it's very Rider-Waite-Smith. If you can see it. It's just more, there's more. It's more elegant. The colors are more vivid. They're amazing. She's got, a big castle on the hill behind her. I'm like, what has she got to be worried about or stressed about or blind to or tied down by? I mean, look at where she's living. It's gorgeous. But again, I felt for her like I was her at some point. I felt everything she's going through in this picture. And it just, again, kind of pissed me off because I'm like, there's so many in this one. And then this one followed me around for weeks. Every time I would pull a card, it would be the Ten of Swords. And I figured out why that was. And I was still holding on to my being stabbed in the back by my best friend of 15 years kind of deal. And I felt betrayed. And this card kept coming up because of that. Once I finally realized that I was still holding on to stuff from that relationship, this card went away and has not come up since. But this card, it's just boggles my mind. I'm obsessed with the Eight of Swords. Now, I found, very unconventionally, I was watching, Bahati Life on YouTube one day because I was trying to find, another tarot deck that kind of spoke to me like the Illuminati. I mean, it didn't speak to me like the Earth Magic Oracle deck, but it was still like, I have to have this deck, if nothing else, for this card. And so one day I was watching a YouTube, just random videos on YouTube, and I came across Bahati Life. She was doing a 4-card reading, like you pick from one of the 4 piles. And what I thought I was picking was, I saw like a quick flash of the cards, and I'm like, ooh, I saw like a headdress, and it was really pretty on this one card. It was in like the 4th pile, which I didn't pay attention to what pile it was in. I just noticed the card, and then it was gone real quick. When she started doing the reading, she pulled up card 2, the front of card 2, and I was like, I instantly started crying. Now, if you know me at all, I don't cry. I don't show emotions. I grew up in a very abusive home. I learned very early on not to show anything to anybody, ever. And I've had a lifetime of trying to overcome that. And for some reason, when I saw this video, it was literally all about, every time I do pull a card, because I started pulling cards of the day and posting it on the Facebook group I follow. And it was practice for me to see if my intuition was actually there and doing what it's supposed to be doing. Because I'm a Virgo, I question everything. This isn't really happening. Like, I've had quite a few clairvoyant experiences in the last year. I've questioned every bit of it. And I think it was at that dark period where nothing was happening, and I just shut it all down. It was like the universe was saying, or spirit was saying, well, you didn't believe us when it is happening, so we're just going to shut it off for a while. And then that's when April hit, when all of a sudden I woke up, I'm like, I have to get a tarot deck. Couldn't figure out why. And so I was watching the Bahati Life. She got to the second stack of cards, and I saw this top here, and I'm like, oh, that's the card I'd picked. Well, I didn't realize till afterward it wasn't the card I picked. But I went ahead with this reading as my reading. And so, at the time I was struggling, questioning everything, all my choices I was making. I have a couple books on Amazon. I'm trying to make it as a writer. I've been told that Memoirs of a Birth Mother is fantastic and should be picked up by somebody. Nobody knows who I am, though, so it's kind of hard to do. Thanks for letting me do that plug real quick. But I was like almost at a crossroad again, where I was like about to give up on this whole writing thing. It's my passion. It is what I know is my life purpose. I didn't start doing it till 5 years ago. I'm in my 40s now. I mean, who are you kidding yourself? Why are you trying this? And I came across her video, picked the wrong card. And then when the second stack came up and she showed the front of the stack, this is the card that showed up. And it says, "The word wants to be written." And I was like, are you effing kidding me right now? And I love how there's the butterflies and the light coming from her, oh my God, I just lost what I was saying. But you know what I'm saying. The light's coming from her third eye, like she's in the zone. She's meditating. She's, I've been told so many times since I started this spiritual journey that my writing and my spirituality are combined. They are one. They are together. They work together as a team, and this confirmed that. And I started bawling as soon as I saw this card. I don't cry ever, and I was so filled with emotion. I'm like, I don't care what deck that is. I have to find it. I have to get it. So I Googled "The Word Wants to Be Written," and the Sacred Rebels Oracle deck came up with this card. I, of course, did a YouTube walkthrough. Loved every card in there. Every card in there spoke to me. I was like, I have to get this deck, that's the cover, which is one of the cards. And so, I was like, I have to get it. Have to get that card. Because once the video was over, I realized when she got to deck 4 of the reading, oh my God, that was the card I originally had picked. Even though that was the pile that spoke to me. Like, everything she read was totally me. It was like she was speaking straight to me. And I'm like, okay, that totally was the stack I was supposed to choose. So, and I did another video walkthrough of the Black Moon Oracle, Black Moon Astrology deck, which is here. And I've always been fascinated with astrology. I've always been fascinated with the zodiac. And I knew I wanted to get this deck. So I went to the metaphysical shop, my new home away from home, and I bought both of them. Incidentally, I somehow had extra cash too that day for some reason. I forgot what it was, how I got it, but I had extra cash, so I was able to get both decks pretty cheap. And I was like, it's like spirit, universe, somebody saying you're on your way. Like, it starts with this, and you have to get these. And I will tell you, every time I pull a card from this, I cry. Because you can't lose with this deck. Ever. It is probably my new favorite Oracle deck, despite the fact that I love the Earth Magic. The Sacred Rebels just brings it to another level of understanding yourself and the choices you've made. It's amazing. I love that deck. But then because I'm always shopping on Wish, because Wish has a lot of decks on there, super cheap. And I'm always leery because of the first one I got was super tiny. I have always been fascinated with one of the Rider-Waite Smith decks, which is the Centennial version. And so I went ahead and bought it on Wish. It's like playing card size. I do like this deck. I do feel like I connect with it more than I do the Rider-Waite, even though they're the same exact scenes and everything. Just the colors are different. This one seems more aged, and I like that because I like antiques, and it seems like it's an antique deck to me. So, after getting all these decks, and I'm like, I still only have I have now 3 tarot decks, but they're really not I mean, the Illuminati I love. I pulled a card a day, every day, every day, every day. I'm like, yeah, they're great. I just feel like there's something missing. And I still could not figure out why I was so obsessed with the Eight of Swords. Like, it speaks to me on a level that I can't explain. So there I was again one day on YouTube, watching different walkthroughs. And I actually think I was at work, because we're having a slow day or something, and I was just randomly watching. I was listening to it, but I was watching on occasion as well. And then a new deck pot, I had just let the video run to the next video, and I started listening, and I'm like very intrigued with what was going on. So I went back and watched the video when I got home, and again, the Eight of Swords called to me, and I had to have this deck. Now, mind you, I still hadn't got the Apocalypsis deck, which was number 1 for weeks and weeks and weeks on my list of the next deck I'm going to get. It is going to be the next deck I'm getting. And so let me find it. Sorry, I completely spaced when I went to get these cards out. Didn't pull them out. But I came across this deck, and I was like, okay, it's nothing like Rider-Waite Smith, like nothing like it. But it spoke to me on a kind of a different level of understanding, and I was just like, and didn't realize it at the time that was a Kickstarter version of the deck. And again, the Eight of Swords is the card that I was like, okay, I have to have this deck because of this. And that is the Lightseers Tarot. The Lightseers Tarot I like because I don't do reversals. I barely am getting to where I can understand most of tarot anyway. But it does a light and a dark side. And I feel this is still a very dark card, but I resonate deeply with it. Like, I couldn't figure out why I was so obsessed with this card. And then because of this deck, I realized this is how I've seen myself. This is how I am. But this is how I've seen myself for most of my life. I've limited choices. I have nowhere to turn. I'm blind to things when I shouldn't be, because I've been given ample what's the word I'm looking for? I've been given ample choices. I can't even think of the word I'm looking for. It's getting late. I'm sorry. But I've been given signs, so many signs, that some of the choices I made in the past were not. Like, hindsight is 20/20, and sometimes it's a bitch, because there were so many signs that I'm like, why was I so stupid? Why did I make that choice? Why did I continue to date him? Why, when there were so many signs, it was like the universe was screaming, run, run like hell, run now. And I still chose not to. Um, and I think that's part of what I grew up with is I, I, this was me growing up. I had no choices. I was blind to, um, the fact that I could get out of, the situation I was in. Um, I was bound. Um, there was nowhere to go. I was stuck. And, for so much of my adult life, that has carried with me because, of the choices I chose to make, which didn't realize until much later in life that I made those decisions. So there's no one else to blame but myself. But, um, this card is just like with the mirror. And this is how I see myself. Even now, sometimes I see myself as this person that has no options. And that's just simply not true. And, um, I saw this deck and I'm like, I have to have this card. I don't care if I ever read with this deck. I don't care if I ever use it. I have to have this card. And, once I got it and I held it in my hand, all this stuff came out. And, I've been like working through it. And I'm like, Like, this is why I've been obsessed with this card for all these decks I've been getting, and why I keep searching for another deck and another deck and another deck when I really don't need any more decks, because this was the card I needed to work through. Funnily enough, I have never pulled this card from any deck. And funnily enough, I actually just came across this book on the Supportive Tarot. You should check her out. The other day, I was watching an older video. I think it's an older video of hers. It's called Tarot for Yourself. And it's essentially like a workbook. It's amazing. I literally got it yesterday. At the end of chapter 1. There's so many activities and exercises already in there. I cannot wait to get through this book. It's so exciting. I'm like, where have you been all my life? And this book's been out forever, apparently. And this is the 35th anniversary edition. So the cover's a little different. The one she had was just all blue. Like a not dark blue, but like a darker blue than this. But it was on Amazon, $16 for this one. The other one was $19, I think. But if you are new to tarot, you have to have this book. I mean, it makes you think about the cards in your repertoire. But what I found interesting in this first chapter is, it helps you find your soul card. It helps you find your personality card. It helps you find your dark card, like the card that, keeps hitting things from you. Your zodiac card, and I already knew the zodiac card was the Hermit. I found it interesting because the Chariot, and I assumed it was going to be like the Eight of Swords, or somewhere in there the Eight of Swords was going to be there. It wasn't. The Chariot is my soul card and my personality card, which I'm still ruminating over that because I'm a little confused on that because I don't feel like I connect with the Chariot at all. But what I found interesting was the dark card, or the hidden factor card, was the Tower. So that's my hidden factor card. And I've always been kind of afraid of it, and I know that's why, because it's things that I know. I just don't want to look at them. I don't want to see them. I want the past to be in the past. Now because I started writing 5 years ago, I have overcome a lot of the past. But And that's why when I first started reading the tarot cards, it was, I'm like, I'm staying away with my card. It's nothing but chaos. Like, the only word that ever comes to mind is chaos. So yesterday, when I was reading this book, it asks you to do an exercise where you pull out the major arcana cards, and then you grab the one that speaks to you the most, and you basically step into the card, see what's going on. Do you smell anything? Do you see anything beyond what's in the picture? Is there people talking? Do you hear them talking? Are they talking to you? Do they give you anything? And I was like, that just opened up a whole new process of thinking. But, and while I was looking at the different cards to see which card I was going to choose, something caught my eye on the Tower card, and I'm like, that's weird. And I picked it up and looked at it closer, and I'm like, it looks like a priest. In my Tarot Illuminati, it literally looks like a priest falling off of the tower, and there's a crown in the corner. And let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm sorry, I was not prepared for this video. I apologize. I knew I had to do it, I just didn't prepare myself for it fully. I think they're all mixed up now. Wait. There's the majors. And there it is. Yeah, again, it to me looks like a priest falling on this side. And then there's a crown down here at the bottom. See how close I can get it. And all of a sudden I heard, what did I say? As soon as I saw that, I'm like, I never noticed that looks like a priest falling. He's got the headdress on up here. It looks like a priest falling off the tower. And then all of a sudden I heard the fall of religion, or your beliefs in a particular religion. And I thought that resonated very deeply because I grew up Pentecostal. A lot of what I grew up with has fallen to the wayside. And most of my, like all of my life, from the time I was born to the time I left home at 18, there was nothing but chaos. There was nothing but descent into, and to me, down here, it almost looks like the underworld down here. And this looks like dragons or demons. And they're just waiting for them. And just with that one activity last night, this card just took on a whole new meaning for me. And I mean, I knew, yes, I resonate with this because it's chaos, but it was literally like I stepped into the card and was part of the scene going on. And it just, it brought on a whole new meaning to that card for me. So now I understand it better. I just still don't like it, but, to me, it's like, nobody wants to really put out all their darkness, the darkest parts of them, and lay it out and look at it. Nobody wants to do that. And so it may be hard for some people to do that. But apparently last night someone was making me do it regardless if I wanted to or not. And so I completely understand this card better now. And of course it's my Illuminati because it is very, like I said, it's basically a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, but it just gives you a few more details in there, like if you're slow like me, because I just don't think the Rider-Waite-Smith gives you enough detail to be able to perceive the card correctly, in my opinion. But the Tarot Illuminati, like I said, very Rider-Waite-Smith, and I mean, it's very Rider-Waite. It just gives you a little few more details that you may not see in the Rider-Waite. Case in point, the Three of Swords. And it's weird because I feel like here lately, because I've been using just my Illuminati. I've pulled from the Light Seer a few times, but I usually just do use my Illuminati because I love it. But there's 3 days in a row where I posted a card of the day from 3 different decks: the Rider-Waite Smith, the Illuminati, and the Light Seer. And every day I came up with the same card, Four of Swords. Every day. And I'm like, seriously? And it was about rest and taking the time to rest and maybe even meditating. It looks like he's meditating there. And I was just like, I feel like I'm resting and meditating, but apparently I wasn't. I haven't meditated still in a while. Maybe that's what it was really saying, is take time to meditate. And I've missed the last 2 weeks of my group meditation because, well, today's Christmas, so it's probably closed anyway. And then last week we had a lot of snow, and I was like, I'm not getting on that. I'm done. But then there's cards like this, which I posted on as a card of the day. It's the Three of Swords. Now, the Rider-Waite deck, it's just, all I ever saw was the 3 swords through a heart. This one's a bloody heart, but there are waves of huge storm in the background. Like, there's lightning up here, the sky is black, you can see the waves, the wind pushing the waves up against the shore, and it got me thinking. I'm like, I don't remember that in the Rider-Waite deck. And so I pulled out my Rider-Waite deck. I'm not pulling it out now, but because most people know what that looks like. But it is, in fact, a blue, it's a blue background, kind of grayish blue, but there's clouds indicating a storm, and then there's raindrops on it. And I'm like, I never noticed that. And so the Illuminati just gives me a little bit more bang for my buck, I guess you want to say. I've always noticed every detail in the Illuminati versus the Rider-Waite Smith deck, and it resonates with me more, where I can understand the cards better. I would say this is an excellent deck for a beginner reader. If you're just trying to understand the cards, it's, like I said, it's pretty much a clone of the Rider-Waite Smith. It's just very glossy and very extravagant looking, and it makes me feel pretty. Makes you feel pretty. But the Light Seer Tarot, like I said, it's a different. Now, the Eight of Swords is, to me, very much Rider-Waite in this deck. Except for the mirror. And the mirror just gives it that added oomph you need to really connect with the card. Plus the crows. I mean, you gotta have crows, and the swords. And most of this deck has crows in all of the swords. But it's, to me, it's very much more modern. Than any other deck that I've had or have. Very modern. And this guy keeps coming up for me here lately. Knight of Swords. And it's weird because here lately, every time I draw, it's like there'll be 4 or 5 days where I'll draw the same suit, and it's a different card in that suit. Like, someone up there is trying to get me to really learn each suit before I'm like, because I still don't understand the court cards a whole lot yet. But these cards are amazing, and I knew when I got this deck that I wasn't getting the Kickstarter version that I saw on YouTube. They had the edge was like a really light, beautiful green color. It had a really fat book that came with it. And I knew that was just for the Kickstarter that was now over because it's already been mass marketed. I missed that Kickstarter, which I would have loved to have been a part of that. But when I got this deck, I'm like, well, I'm totally edging it in that color if I can figure out what color green that was. But I wound up finding some Sharpies at Walmart that's a limited edition, and they're called Cosmic Colors, like $5. But they had a green in there that is my favorite color, green. And if you can see that, that is gorgeous. And it matches perfectly to the book that comes with it. There's so many in here, cards in here that are pretty much the same color. Like the Hangman right there, that's almost identical to the color I did the edging in. So I kind of like my green better. And for some reason, I love the smell of these cards. For some reason, they're just amazing. This is the back, which is still the same as the other, and I think there's a couple of different cards that are different from the Kickstarter version, but all in all, I'm in love with this deck. I'm in love with the Illuminati deck. Yeah, that's green too. Beautiful. So, I just thought I would put that out there and show you the different Eight of Swords in each of my tarot decks. I have 4 now with the mini Centennial version. This one's in a little box. I'm going to have to find me a little box to put these in, or maybe a bag. I like boxes, though. I like stuff that's sturdy. This doesn't look very sturdy. It's like the one the Radiant Rider-Waite came in, and it's trash now. I mean, I kept it, but it's crap. But yeah, I wanted to show you guys the card that has inspired this journey of me now having 4 Oracle decks and 4 Tarot decks, and I have several more on my list that I want to get. But each of these decks speak to me, other than the first one. Each of these decks speaks to me on a different level. I feel like each time I get a new deck, it's furthering my growth process for somehow. It's helping me understand the cards better. And because this one isn't really a whole Rider-Waite symbology, I think I'm getting more out of it. Just because it shows a different perspective of things than the Rider-Waite or Rider-Waite clone does. The Illuminati, which is still great. And it's funny that I don't connect with the Rider-Waite, but the Illuminati, which is clearly a clone, I resonate with deeply. I don't understand it. I think it is just because there's more going on in the picture. Yeah, it's, to me, the Eight of Swords has literally sent me on this journey where I found these great decks, and they all of them speak to me on completely different levels, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, and wanted to know if you have any decks that are like, or cards that are like that, where there's no rhyme or reason, but this one card, and no matter what deck it is the card that you are like, that's my card. Despite the Tower being my dark side card, despite the Chariot being my personality and soul card, despite the Hermit being my astrological card, which I totally get because I am totally a hermit. None of them cards speak to me like the Eight of Swords does. And that could be just because of my life experiences. I see myself in her, no matter what deck she's in. And So that's how I think that's how I'm choosing my decks, is like, show me the Eight of Swords, because if she's not something that I connect with, there's no point. And so I posted this video um, to share that with you guys. And I'm just curious if any of you out there have had the same um, affinity like I have for a specific card, where you shouldn't, um, but you do. And so with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Feel free to comment. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like about the video. As like I said, this is my fourth video. It's super new. Still learning. So the more you comment, the more I learn. So thank you, and I will see you guys later. Bye.